cheese matters. Today I'd really like to talk about one particular cheese, one that is available in all your supermarkets and is becoming more and more popular, and that's mascarpone. Today I've got a South Cape fresh mascarpone. It's an Italian style cheese. It's a cream cheese that has been just set with a little bit of acid, and it has a beautiful, rich, almost velvety texture. Come and have a look at it. You can see it almost looks like cream in a bowl, but just has that extra little bit of tang to it that gives it a lovely taste profile. Mascarpone is most commonly used in tiramisu. That's what people tend to use it for, when you lay a beautiful soaked sponge with mascarpone and flavours of coffee, etc. It's fantastic dolloped on top of desserts. It is also great for savoury things, goes particularly well with smoked salmon. Try it spread on a nice bruschetta and layered with some smoked salmon, a few capers, or even avocado. But today I'm going to make a gorgeous lime and mascarpone tart, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this one. You've seen me make a couple of different pastries. Well, this one is my all-time food processor pastry that's a no-fail pastry, given to me by Miss Melanie about 20 years ago, so it really has stood the test of time. We've got 1 1/3 cups of plain flour, goes straight into the food processor, and the secret little tip here is just a pinch of baking powder. Not so much that you're going to get a lot of rising, but just gives that extra little bit of lift. And about 100 grams of butter. Make sure this is chilled and chopped, so it's come pretty much straight out of the fridge. You can see the butter's still a little bit hard. And I've also got here 1/4 cup of caster sugar and 1 egg, and I'm going to beat those together because I'll add them in a moment. So just mix them together until the sugar almost dissolves into the egg. That doesn't really take long. We find this is the best way to introduce it into the pastry towards the end. So now just a quick blend. If you don't have a food processor, you can in fact do this by rubbing the butter in with your fingers, and it works just as well. What you're looking for is for the butter to just be evenly distributed throughout, so it almost looks like breadcrumbs. Come and have a look. Now we're going to add the egg. So while the motor's running, I'm going to add the egg and sugar in a very slow and steady stream, and as soon as the mixture comes together in a ball, stop. Really important not to over mix it. So that's the trick. Here we go. That's it. You can see it's just come together. And you might find it's just a little sticky. If that's the case, just grab a little flour on your fingers to just take it out. Now I'm going to turn this out onto some baking paper and roll it out to fit a 30cm flan tin. So I've rolled the pastry out nice and thin and pressed it into the tin. If it breaks a little bit, you can just repair it using your fingers. And then using a fork, just prick the base. That needs to go into the fridge for about 15 minutes so that the pastry can actually firm up again before you bake it at 200 degrees Celsius for 10 to 15 minutes till it's golden, and then we can put the filling in. So that's had 20 minutes in the oven. It's nice and golden brown. Let's make the filling. I've got a cup of caster sugar here. I'm going to add our beautiful mascarpone to it. This is going to give it a delicious, rich centre and that little bit of tang. And I need the grated rind and juice of 3 limes. So I'll go straight in. There's something so refreshing about the aroma of lime when you're grating it. And limes are not always available, so if you can't find them or if they're a little bit too expensive, you can certainly use lemons. You can even use mandarins, which are quite nice, or some orange, or a mixture. So really, suit yourself. So just juice those. Sometimes if you actually squash them on the board a little bit, it helps to release a little more juice. And because they are quite expensive, we need to try and get out as much as we can. And make sure you always grate the rind before you juice them. Sometimes you accidentally cut them in half, start juicing them, and it's very, very difficult to get the rind off once they've been juiced. In that goes. And just a light whisk before we mix in 6 eggs. 6 55-gram eggs. Pop them in one at a time. And the eggs are really what are going to set this. It's almost like making a custard because when they're heated with a nice gentle heat, they're going to set. And that beautiful mascarpone is going to give that creaminess and tang that really lifts this whole recipe. So much nicer than using cream on its own. Again, another light whisk. We don't want to whisk it too much and aerate it. It's just a matter of incorporating the ingredients. So you can see I'm keeping my whisk fairly low to the bowl, not trying to get too much air in. The other thing I would like to remind you is buying mascarpone, you really need to buy it fresh and use it within a couple of days of buying it. Even though it has got a little bit of time on it, the fresher the better. And that's why I like using local mascarpone rather than the imported variety, because then I know it's fresh and locally made. So into the pastry case. Now that needs a gentle heat, 160 degrees Celsius in the centre of the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. You're really just looking for the custard to set nicely, then allow it to cool before you cut it. Isn't she beautiful, that lime mascarpone tart? It took about 40 minutes at 160 degrees Celsius. Remember, a nice low temperature because you don't want to overcook that custard and split it. I've used a tart tin with a removable base, which makes it extra easy to just take it out. So they're worth investing in if you want to become a baker. And I'm just going to cut a lovely wedge. Lift it ever so gently. Finish it off with a little whipped mascarpone, a good dusting of icing sugar, and what I have here are some little lime slices that I've just fried in a little bit of icing sugar. So dusted them liberally and just cooked them in a very hot pan till they're lovely and golden. So you've got to admit that is a beautiful dessert, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it at your next dinner party. For more information on cheese, go to cheesematters.com.au, your complete guide to cheese.